Hey everyone, welcome to I'm Not a Fan Unless I Have a Podcast. I'm John Hanford, and I don't know how many times I have listened to Honey in the last 36 hours since it came out. It's just such a beautiful track. I'm sure it's going to be, I love that that's the single that they released because, I'm sure it's going to hold up great in the whole album, in whatever scheme that is, but as a standalone track, it holds up. It holds water, and I think it's fantastic. I just love I love the lyrics. I love the guitar riff. It sounds simple, but it's still in 7/4, and I tried to play it on my acoustic standard. Not microtonal. It's hard. It's not an easy song. And I just love all of that. It seems very, very Giz. Infest the Rat's Nest. I like it was overwhelmingly popular, but it did stray a little bit from that overall Giz theme that was a little more evident in Fishing for Fishies. But I just love all this is going on. So obviously, but I did see somebody on Facebook post they posed the question of, can't tell if this is a song about oral sex or cannibalism. And as we've discussed on this podcast several times before, the Giz verse is a multiverse. So we're left with both. The song is about both. So, or it's about whatever you want. But here's the deal. You might not be on board right now with oral sex cannibalism, but we didn't like Sketches at first either. So give it some time. By the end of 2021, we'll all be on board with oral sex cannibalism. That's the Gizverse just got way weirder, and I'm here for it. So anyway. This is a really fun episode. This is one of my favorite conversations that I've gotten to have thus far. It's with this guy, Tom, lives in Northern England, goes to school in Edinburgh, and he's a radio host himself. Also, he wanted me to give a special shout out to a couple of his friends, and I wouldn't normally do this, but I don't know what. Honestly, yes, I would normally do this. I'm fucking amenable. Anyway, wanted me to give a shout out to his friend. He has a friend who's also named Tom, and Chloe. Two other massive Giz heads, according to him. And, well, guess the dog just went out the pet door, so walk in the room here. But anyway, this episode is fun. Give it up for Tom. You're going to love him.
Some old magazine covers when I was younger, but yeah.
Nice. No, I fucking love the Beatles, man. We're recording, by the way. Nice. Yeah. So we're just gonna start this super casual, just mid conversation. But yeah, like the Beatles were my favorite. I was as into the Beatles as I am into Giz. When I was
really?
a kid. Pretty much from the time I was 6 through 11. It was I was basically a walking Beatles Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I mean, my mum and dad, they've got various different music interests that they both have. So my mum's into things like the Smiths, and she also harder stuff like Sex Queen and older, harder stuff, like White Snake and stuff. My dad has always been a fan of bands like Squeeze and stuff, but the Beatles is a band where they always kind of joined. If you imagine a Venn diagram, in the middle, the Beatles is 100% there. And I really grew up with a lot of the Beatles stuff. I was actually thinking the other day about how Revolver was a massive album for me. I always used to listen to it all the time.
Oh my God, yeah.
I'd always skip to Love Me Too. I think it was number 4 on the album. And just listen to the sitar constantly. I was kind of just mesmerized by it. But yeah, the Beatles have always been a massive band for me. I think my favorite, I really enjoyed as well the Love album that they did.
Which one was that?
It's the one they did with Cirque du Soleil. There's that big light show. We were on holiday in the US once, and we got to see it in Vegas, and it was unbelievable. It was like this whole Beatles kind of show that they developed, and a whole album. I think it was who is it? The old producer guy who.
George Martin.
Yeah, I think it was, and his son.
Yeah.
They mastered the whole thing, and it was some experience.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen that.
But really
but yeah, so you're calling in from where?
I'm calling from a place called County Durham in the north of England.
Nice.
It's a pretty small county. I don't know do you know Newcastle?
I know of it. I have no knowledge of geography, but I know the direction of north, so I figure
it's basically like it's kind of near-ish to the Scottish border.
Okay, yeah, so like kind of close to Edinburgh.
Yeah. That's where I got to uni. So it's a nice place. It's like kind of quiet. It's there's not much going on, but it's a really beautiful place with loads of history. And yeah.
That's cool. So I guess it's just like a little colder than London.
It's when London's 15 degrees, we're like 10. So, but today it's been actually really nice. We've been trying to make the most of it because it's been really quite hot for us.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the equivalent would be.
I don't know shit about the exchange rate.
16 Celsius. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could look it up on my phone and just see like what the equivalent is, but like because it's been consistently 100 degrees Fahrenheit in where I live in the desert. So that's equivalent to 37.7 degrees.
Oh my God, I always remember when I was on holiday in America seeing 100 degrees in the car. We were in Death Valley and I saw 100 degrees on a car, and I'd never seen anything like it in my life. I was shocked. Yeah,
Death Valley is the hottest place in the world, I think, or maybe not in the world, but definitely in the U.S.
Yeah,
and I've never been there, but it's about 4 hours away from where I live. And like my dad went there once, and he was just on a road trip when he'd finished high school, and like he checked the temperature when he was there, and it was 122 degrees. So
wow.
That's probably north of 40 Celsius.
Yeah. That is death. That is, that really is death.
Yeah. So, and apparently all he had to hydrate himself was a Coca-Cola. So I don't know how he made it, but but in any case, thanks for coming on the podcast, and so yeah, how did you get into King Gizzard?
So the story begins about 4 years ago, I think, and I think I was only about 16, so it means I'm 20.
Yeah.
And it basically came from curiosity at first. Like I'd seen loads of people on my Spotify listening to it. People had friends and people who used to go to gigs, and they listened to Giz. And I'd be scrolling through Twitter, and loads of music magazines would be like, there's this album that kind of is just non-stop through itself, and every song plays into each other. I was like, this is interesting. Right. And so it was just kind of when Nonagon Infinity was released. One day I decided, right, finally I'm just going to have to give this a go. And, oh man, it just not changed my life, but it was an experience. I just fell in love with them straight away, because I just changed to what you'd call different high school. It's like sixth form's like the last 2 years before you go to uni. And I just moved to a different one. And I get on the bus not knowing anybody. So listening to music on that morning would always be pretty important. And I would just listen to Nonagon Infinity non-stop the whole time. Like the journey was only like 25 minutes, but I'd get annoyed every time. It'd be like halfway through the album. I have to actually start like school now. But yeah, and then it just kept on going. I mean, I kind of, it was maybe a slow burner because I got really obsessed with that album.
Yeah.
And I didn't really explore much of the other stuff for a while. And then Flying Microtonal Banana came out, and I really enjoyed it. At first, I was kind of unsure because I was like, whoa, but this isn't like Nonagon Infinity. But then as I obviously developed and listened more to this stuff, I kind of fell in love with them even more because I realized, like, man, this band just does everything. It's so,
Yeah.
it just, and it touched a lot of different genres and things that I really enjoyed and listened to. I know we talked a bit about the Beatles and sitar and stuff, like Float Along and whatever, really that kind of aspect, like psychedelic aspect, really really made me enjoy that. And then folky Nick Drake, Nick Mulvey sort of things got me into Paper Mache. And then, I mean, Murder of the Universe, who knows? Like, I don't know if I'll listen to anything quite like that, but yeah, it kind of just developed from there.
Yeah, I mean, I consume Giz albums in a similar fashion. Like I'll just obsess over one. And like I did that a ton with Flying Microtonal Banana. Did it with, I mean, I've done it with basically all of their albums. Probably not so much so with Fishing for Fishies, but it's just a matter of time before I do. Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting thing. And like, I think one of the probably the biggest thing that made me into a King Gizzard fan is just this constant struggle to try and get inside Stu MacKenzie's head.
Tell me about it.
I mean, like the other day I took acid and listened to Hawkwind.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, cause Stu occasionally, like when they do Robot Stop live, he'll quote Master of the Universe. So I listened to their full album In Search of Space, and then the one after that came out in 73. And I mean, I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, I totally get this. This is straight up like what I would imagine like one of the preliminary jam sessions to Notagon being.
Yeah, I could just die to see one of those early jam sessions when he got like started that album. I mean, I remember when I watched Splitting the Microtonal Banana for the first time, and I think it was maybe one of the first kind of insights I'd had into the band.
Yeah,
and watching Stu, he's just like the master of like the circus. You know what I mean? Like he seems so knowledgeable about every aspect of the of the recording process, of the instrumentation, of how it all fits together.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems to come across very well.
I mean, it's clear that it's a passion of his. I want to say he's self-taught, but I mean, it's just fascinating how he can be such an effective instrumentalist, and then just an amazing musician with all these different instruments, and then also be like a great sound engineer. It's really fascinating because usually people rely on specialists for those kinds of things. But yeah, that I just love. I mean, just all of that. And like you can definitely tell like with Nonagon, like because I listened to Nonagon after Hawkwind, while I'm still tripping, and like I gained a whole new appreciation for the synthesizers on that album, and I guess just in the band in general, like to create like all the space sounds. It's just so
you enjoy
fucking cool.
The little synth bits in Chunky that were interlinked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like,
forget about them.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting how they've used synthesizers to, I don't know, just create like this undertone. Like you don't really, because like they don't make their synths too prominent. I feel like I didn't really pick up on them other than a few of this, keyboard solos and stuff. But, and obviously Cy Boogie and Acarin, but like they're just. The synths are so supportive of the rest of the sound.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's never really prominent. Only in a few albums. I think like Murder of the Universe, it probably is quite prominent. But then again, Murder of the Universe has got so much going on.
Yeah, I mean they're prominent in Polygondwana Land. I mean, definitely in that. Even though, like the first time I listened to Poly, I thought that it was an actual flute because Stu's been known to use an actual flute.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's fascinating because like Polygondwana Land, the synths were featured pretty prominently, and with just so many of the other albums, they're just a supporting
exactly
part of the thing. it just kind of balances out the, I don't know, like, I guess whatever gaps there are between the guitars and bass, it's
Yeah, if there could be possibly anything else needed, because the guitar and the bass and all the melodic stuff that they do is so has so much depth, and it, it's, you think to yourself, like, does this need a synth? But then I don't know, you just listen back to it, and it just is so layered, and yeah.
Yeah, and like when the synths aren't going, you're getting harmonica, which is obviously like, that's prominent.
Yeah. And then of course the flute, just whack it in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole, their whole creative process is really enviable. Like, I don't. So are you a musician as well?
A little bit. No, I play guitar. I played guitar for a long time, like maybe since I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got the mandolin right here as well. I played that for
nice.
a little while. But I mean, I think I was best when I was maybe like 16, 17. That was when I was kind of peaked. And then things like university and stuff, it all just kind of got in the way. And I've always been interested in music. And I mean, for a long time when I was like 12, I always wanted to be like work with electronic music and get synths and stuff, but it never really materialized. But yeah, I do like, nowadays it's more of a dabble and a hobby in terms of making my own music and writing things, and I I've been playing guitar since I was 8. I'm 30 now, so I've been playing guitar for like 22 years. I'm not nearly as good as I should be, but I mean, it's been an interesting ride since, like, like I'm 10 years ahead of you in life, and even though I probably look like I'm 10 years behind, like, trust me, mate, if I didn't have this beard, it would, it'll be a completely different story. Like,
for sure,
good 5 years off me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe tweeze those eyebrows too, but
but you want to see this middle bit? It's bad.
But the point is, like, I used to play in a band in high school, middle school, and then like I started college because I was convinced by too many people not to pursue music or do anything creative, which really sucks. I feel like those people robbed me in a way, because now that I've burned out of corporate life.
Parents, yeah.
My parents were, it's so weird. My parents were supportive. They were like overly supportive to the point where I just didn't believe them that I was talented. And
they're like, "Oh yeah, go you, son!" Like,
I was just like, "You guys have like no self-awareness. How could I possibly trust your judgment on anything, especially when it pertains to me, something you're definitely biased toward?" So like, I really got in my own way, but so a couple years ago I burned out of corporate life and decided, like, I just need to just give myself a total upheaval, just a complete refresh, and like start doing creative shit again. So and mostly that's come in the form of stand-up comedy and writing.
Oh, nice.
But like I've also been, like, I started writing music again like a couple months ago, pretty much right after quarantine started. I was just like, all right, I need to release an album.
It's a good time to get all this creative stuff down, you know what I mean?
Oh, like, totally.
Because my quarantine it's been a bit crazy. So I study Spanish and Portuguese, so I've been away for the last year. I was in from January to March I was in Brazil.
Oh, nice.
And I had to come home, unfortunately, because of this whole crisis. And I mean, I've done radio for a long time at uni, like good 2.5 years. And I came home and I obviously still had uni work to do, and I thought, right, well, time to do some other stuff as well. So I made another radio program. I do it on Brazilian music. I've been doing interviews and all sorts of stuff, and it feels so nice to do this creative stuff on the side. And
oh yeah, dude. I mean that's so cool that you do radio. I see you got like the professional quality mic. Radio is fucking great. I used to do radio when I was in college. I went to Hofstra University in Long Island, New York. Terrible location, but the radio program is just fantastic. So yeah, like I got a ton of training with all that, and then decided not to not to pursue it for a career, but here I am. And like, yeah, I feel so much freedom just doing this
Yeah,
podcast and just like talking with people all over the world. It's such a cool experience.
it really is. It feels like, I don't know, because I've been doing interviews as well. Like this is weird for me because I'm usually doing it on the other side, but um I've been with my radio. I've been making some interviews with bands from, like, there's a band called Inhaler I've just recently interviewed,
Oh,
who's, I think Bono's son's actually the lead singer, and that was a lot, and that was like, things like that just feels pretty surreal. You know what I mean? Like it,
yeah.
another Hines based in Spain, like hearing all these stories and talking to these people, it's just such an amazing feeling and experience. And I'm like, obviously it's cool to imagine yourself on the other side, you being a musician doing all that sort of stuff, but
Yeah.
even if you were like making these relationships, and I don't know, like hearing how human everyone is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird, and like you mentioned, Bono's son being the front man of this band.
Yeah, he was so sound as well, by the way, as well. He was such a nice guy.
Yeah, I don't doubt it at all. I mean, like I hear Bono
Yeah,
is a really great person, even though like
yeah.
I think he's annoying, but I don't deny that he's like I don't care for his music, but like he's a good guy from
Mm,
from all the accounts I've heard.
yeah.
Um, and uh, but it's interesting now that we're in like 30, 40 years after so many amazing musicians, and now we're seeing like their offspring. Uh,
It's mad, isn't it?
make music. Like
Yeah.
there was the concert for George Harrison after he died,
Hmm.
and his son Danny, who looks just like him, uh,
Yeah.
played, and that was super cool. I also got to see this psychedelic band Particle Kid. Um,
Hmm.
it's it's fronted by Micah Nelson, who's Willie Nelson's son. Um,
Willie Nelson is in the country singer.
Yeah, Willie Nelson has
What?
like he's got a few sons, and they're all musicians, and his son Micah has like he's my age, I think, and he has a band called Particle Kid, which I got to see open for the Meat Puppets, who are another one of my favorite bands, and I didn't know that the Particle Kid was, I didn't know that there was any Willie Nelson relation until
That's
a couple
mental.
days later when people are talking about just like, yeah, Willie Nelson's son just rocked the fucking place, and I was just like, oh, that makes so much sense. But I mean, yeah, they were it was such a good show. I think he played Desert Days last year, and I think Levitation.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
mad. I'm just imagining like Whiskey River with like a sitar and a flute and like like
well, he's doing like more spacey, like spacey psychedelic stuff.
yeah.
Not like the '60s sitar, but yeah. I mean, just the sound he was getting. Like they would have these extended jams that were just sick.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, it was just such a cool experience to see him play.
Oh man, I can't
Um,
wait to check them out now. I'll have to...
yeah. Also, my favorite part of Particle Kid is that all stemmed from a stoned conversation that Micah and Willie Nelson were having together. Like they were just, sharing a joint,
Mm.
and Willie Nelson told him, or he meant to say, you're the prodigal kid. But what he said was, you're the particle kid. So it was just like a verbal misstep, and they just fucking took off with that. Like it's the
Man,
coolest shit.
what a cool story. That's insane.
Yeah, but
Parenting
it's
101 with Willie Nelson.
I mean, yeah, there are just so many I mean fantastic artists that are born from other artists, like
Mm.
Chris Cornell's daughter, Toni Cornell. I think she's like 15 or 16 or
Hmm.
something, but she has an amazing voice, and she's writing music, and I hope she's off to
Yeah,
I hope she has a good career.
such
Um,
it's a legacy. I think it's like a big legacy.
oh, totally.
But because when I was talking to Eli, the lead singer of Inhaler, um, I don't know, like I was reading interviews before, and I think there's almost this desire of self definition as musically. being the son of someone so famous and so prominent. Like there's such a desire for them to be themselves and be like inimitable, if you know what I mean. You know, because they've got like, if when you've got like the enemy saying like, oh, so what's it like being Bono's son? It's like, no, like, you know, it's as much as it's a really cool thing, you know, he must really want to kind of break that sort of chain, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like, so like when I was in preschool, like I was born in New York and lived there until I was 4. But I went to preschool there, and my best friend was this guy, Simeon Marsalis. His dad was Wynton Marsalis, a really famous jazz trumpet player, jazz and classical trumpet player. And you know, obviously, like when they had the open house for preschool, like all the parents wanted to talk to him. And like my dad, like this is one of my dad's favorite stories. Like my dad would just go, like he just went up and started talking to him about being a father, and just like having regular conversation, because this is just a regular guy that happened to make great music and get rewarded for it. And yeah, I mean, like I'm sure there's definitely like that definitely creates a weird dynamic for the kid when it's just like, wait, what's up with all this attention? And like, I don't get it. He's just my dad. But you know, like I mentioned, Particle Kid opened for the Meat Puppets. I've mentioned this in a couple episodes, but like I know the Meat Puppets personally, and like they've been around since the 80s, and they were my favorite band before King Gizzard. But yeah, like it was you know, just in talking with my best friend that's in the band, he's the son of the front man. You know, he's like his dad's, I think, like in his late 50s. He's 36. And it's like we've talked a lot about that weird dynamic of like people coming up to you after shows being like, oh my God, you're so lucky. You know, you must, you know, thank your lucky stars every day. And you must love, you know, it must be such a cool thing. And it's just like, no, that shit gets really fucking like tiresome.
Yeah, exactly. With people reminding you every 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
It almost suffocates you of your own creativity and like will to
constant reminder of what has come before, and you know, not like the reason why you do what you do, but you know, obviously a contributor, but like, you know what I mean, like you don't want to completely associate yourself with that.
Yeah, and it's like the same reason that like I don't really want to hang out with my friends or with my parents' friends, because like they all expect me to be just like my parents. Like, no, I have no interest in any of that shit. Exactly. like I'm out here living my own life, making better financial decisions.
Hey, I wonder if what happens if all in the next 20 years when all the Giz have children and when they grow up and they create bands, like. That could be at least like another 7 bands that we have, or 10 bands, you know?
Oh God. I mean, I hope like if I basically don't want them to have kids just because they need to keep making Giz music. And
touring around the world constantly.
And you know, like as far as I'm concerned, Lucas is the only one that's allowed to be a dad. And the rest should abstain and get snipped. But
I reckon Eric would be a good dad.
Oh yeah, well, okay. Eric's allowed to have kids because Flightless needs more. They could use
someone to man the shop.
Yeah, they could use some you know, love of labor type people, or labor of love, and you know, indentured servants until they're 18. Like I think that would be good for the label. They'd be able to do way more pressings and get the albums shipped out much quicker, and maybe even do a better job with all the packaging. If you get your kids to get really into you know, industrial packaging, maybe a few fewer people will have you know, pristine vinyl by the time it arrives. So yeah, Eric better knock up Octomom.
Get a chocolate star every time you put a t-shirt in a box. Yeah, like
God, it's Yeah, so I'd be down with Eric having like 20 kids, but the rest of them no. Uh, worst case scenario, you could replace Eric as the second drummer with like Matt Block from Baked Beans and Murlocs.
Yeah, exactly. Worst
Yeah,
case.
like they know drummers, they'll be fine.
Yeah, sure.
Oh god, this is so diabolical, and I feel like I'll get a lot of heat for this, but I'm welcoming it at this point.
Braze.
Yeah. Oh god, I hope if they do have kids that they do create great bands, and
Yeah,
or that they just do something cool.
Or keep the legacy going, yeah? Like, kind of have this constant progression, keeping on joining in the band.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they could use a few more synth players.
Third drummer, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Third drummer. They could make Polygon Dwanaland Part 2, and just like have 3 different drum beats going on at the same time.
Exactly.
That would be fucking wild.
That's something else.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we'll get to wrapping this up pretty soon. But what was but before I let you go, I just wanted to get just what are some things about King Gizzard that you've been thinking about recently? Just stuff, anything, doesn't matter what it is that's on your mind.
Well, knowing that I was going to do this kind of chat / podcast, I kind of had a thought back into like old memories and Giz stuff, and I was thinking a lot about when the time that I saw them, really, because I've only seen them once, and it was in Madrid whilst I was abroad there. And
that's cool.
I was kind of just thinking about it and how, like, listening back to Chunking, and that really made me think about how much of it how special that felt. It was like such an amazing night. It was at this place called La Riviera. It's this place, like, it's quite a wide place, and it's got loads of these like fake plastic trees, like accidentally calling Radiohead, everywhere. And the gig was just insane. Like, I remember how amazing I felt. Like, I was kind of just like chuckling along. Like, I mean, when Ambi had finished that rendition of "Let Me Mend the Past."
Oh yeah,
and it just hit to the heart. Like, it was insane. But yeah, like, I don't know. I was just thinking about those sorts of things, and how I said at the beginning, like, how much it was kind of like a slow burner for me, and how I really would obsess, and as well how fan wise, I think maybe when I was around 16, that whole teenage phase of getting into bands, well, maybe hasn't ended, but getting into bands and obsessing over them, wanting to buy everything and have everything,
yeah.
It was kind of weaning off. But then King Gizzard came along, and all of a sudden you feel like you want everything that they produce and everything that fans produce. I see the most amazing things online and on Reddit, and like the engagement I see with them and as a band. Like, I think the effort that they put in certainly reflects the effort that fans put in as well. And it's such a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems that it's just a labor of love. Like, everybody, everybody in the band is super nice. Like, I've only met a couple of them, but from everything I've heard, I've never heard any instance of the guys being assholes, and really nothing ever short of them being like, good people that are really grateful for all the fans. And I mean, so like I've seen them 5 times, and not to brag, but it's like, just go every time I see them, it's like, these guys are out here again, just putting all their love into this, and like they create something that so clearly they love, that I, as a fan, get inspired to love back. It's like,
it made me I think it made me have an even greater sense of excitement in music, and that I don't think I've ever lost. But it's something I'd a feeling I've not had since I was probably first getting into bands. Like when they announced Red Rocks, for example, and I was just onto my mate, I was just texting like, "Oh my god, this is insane!" I was going to be in Brazil, so I was. It was never going to happen, But just on the off chance, I looked at Skyscanner and I was like, right, how could I get there? Like, how long is it from Brazil to wherever,
Yeah,
like
Denver.
Berkeley or wherever it is, Denver?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. But where's the other one? I think
yeah, the other one's in Berkeley, California.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But honestly, it just, it would have been really, really cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people are getting refunds on those tickets, so they'll go back on sale at some point if you wanted to get a transatlantic flight.
Man, that would just be incredible. Like, I know it's a lot of money. Like,
yeah,
but we'll see. I mean, they'll probably sell out in seconds, mine. But like, you've got to try.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of shit's uncertain right now, so anything's a possibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Really
well, Tom, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And if you do end up coming to Red Rocks, let me know, and we'll sync up.
That'll be insane. Yeah, I'll start fundraising now.
Yeah, good.
John, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. It's been really nice. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I'm loving listening to these podcasts and hearing all these different people from.
I appreciate that, man.
So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. Take it easy.